Welcome to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And I have a special guest today. You know, this is not the normal time I'm on, but I really wanted to make sure that I reached out to, somebody, one of the teams that we've faced in the preseason, and I kind of get their thoughts on, how the season's progressing for them and what they saw from our team. So I'm very fortunate to have Anthony Sellers on today. Anthony, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to have you on. You are a through and through Cleveland Browns fan.
Yeah.
I respect you guys' fan base. You guys have been through a lot throughout the decades, and it looks like your team is looking really really good compared to other years, and that's a testament to what you guys are kind of stuck in there and hung in there and just kind of weathered the storm and stayed the course.
Oh yeah, definitely. The whole past 20 years has just been, lack of a better term, pure hell. So to have the kind of talent that the team has now is got the whole city I know excited, and it's got the the fans and friends that I know extremely excited for the year.
Yeah, man, and you guys should. I mean, you brought in Steve Wilks, and you brought in some free agents that are really going to help that team. And tonight we're gonna talk. We're gonna kind of bounce back and forth, and we'll talk about the Cleveland Browns a little bit, and then we'll talk on the Bucks, as well, to kind of get your perspective as an outsider looking in on this team, and get your thoughts on what you've seen from them. So. This will be a great show. I'm really looking forward to it. And before we get started, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and your podcast.
So the podcast is Browns in Our Blood, and is done with a friend of mine who is from downtown Cleveland. His name is Eric Jordan. You can get a hold of me on Twitter at WVSTray3, and you can get a hold of Eric at Monsterlong Sound Vision. I think it's either Monsterlong or Monsterlong Sound Vision.
Yeah, I'm actually looking that up because he just he had responded when we were talking about this. So I'll get that link up before the show is over. So very close game. I realize this is preseason and you're getting to see a lot of guys that get a look at guys you normally wouldn't look at. Is there anybody that because I know you've been following throughout the offseason, anybody that's really jumping off the screen at you that you weren't really thinking about before the season started?
Two players have stuck out in my mind. That's Devereaux Lawrence. He's a defensive tackle. He started pretty much just trying to make a roster spot for the Browns, and I think he's actually going to make it the way he's played. And he had 2 sacks against the Bucs there on Friday, I think.
Yeah.
And then there's a running back that's played really well. His name's D'Ernest Johnson. And even though we have a lot of running backs, a lot of depth there with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and then who's the third guy? Dontrell Hilliard.
There you go.
Yeah. Johnson's really made a case to have a 4th spot because he's played well on special teams as well.
Yeah, so, you guys have done a lot. You kind of stabilized everything, and you continue to bring in talent until you got the pieces that you feel like you have in place. How comfortable are you with the division and how the division's shaping up? How comfortable are you as a Browns fan going into the season as far as competition and your team being competitive with everybody else?
I'm the most confident I've been in a long time as a fan. To be objective with it, I really think the Steelers are still going to be up there just because they always seem to be at the top of the division. And with what Baltimore has done to create speed to help out with Lamar Jackson, I think all 3 of us are going to be, all 3 teams are going to be fighting for the division clear until the end of the season. And our division also isn't going to be figured out until the end because I know our schedule, we have 5 of our division games in the last 7 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's nothing's going to be decided till the last week of the season probably.
And I think that's what makes football fun is when you have those type of schedules where you don't know what's going to happen. It's not decided. I mean, I've seen seasons where you have all your division games in the early part to the middle of the season. You may have one or two at the end, and you kind of have an idea of what's going on. But I think this creates for great competition within your division. The one team I didn't hear you mention is Cincinnati. Is that on purpose?
A little bit. It's just they've kind of just put themselves in a rebuilding mode, it seems like, and everybody that are fans from Steelers and Ravens and stuff that we know too have pretty much just kind of agree that they're going to be pretty much the cellar dwellers this year down at the bottom.
Really? So
Yeah.
you don't think they've done enough in the offseason to be competitive with that? The thing about division games, you face each other 2 times out of the year.
Yeah,
So,
that's what makes it so hard too. Is like they're also NFL players, so they know what is expected of them. You can't.
Right.
There's so much parity in the league, like you say. It's always like that every year. There's so much parity. You can't really predict what's going to happen. But at the same time, it's like the moves that have been made have all been made by Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Cleveland.
Yeah, especially Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think what Cleveland has done with their offense, if you guys can get that to gel, that offensive line, and we didn't even get to see Jarvis Landry or Odell Beckham, so or Nick Chubb for that matter. It's going to be really interesting, especially when Kareem Hunt comes back from suspension, just to see what that team can do when you have everybody there as a collective unit, both offense and defense.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch just because, Odell, we pretty much a couple years ago in preseason, we pretty much knew that we're not going to see him in this year's preseason because we're the team that injured him there a couple years ago. So he's not like, now we just want him in bubble wrap until September 8th.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. Every team is different, but with your veterans, you kind of have an idea of what you're going to get out of your veterans. I think the closed practices during preseason, during camp, OTAs, that's when you work on the actual scheme. But, when you have those games, it's just vanilla play. And I think it's kind of, I don't know. I don't think it's just the best idea to have a wide receiver, a premier wide receiver out there if all they're doing is running vanilla plays and they could get that freak injury. So I don't know. I think that's a smart move to shut him down and just get him ready for game 1.
Yeah, no, I agree with that definitely because like the whole preseason, Coach Freddie Kitchens has said consistently that each game they focused on a certain aspect that they wanted to continue working on. Like they didn't, it's not like you said, no game planning and stuff and not a lot of strategy. It's just it's a continuation of the practices, just in more game time settings.
Yeah, and you get to hit somebody in a different uniform, or you get to, go up against somebody in a different uniform. So that's a big difference maker for you. I kind of want to switch gears here a little bit. I know we kind of talked about the defense. What are your thoughts on the offense? Are you pretty comfortable with the running game, your tight ends, your quarterback, and who do you have? Who's in competition for that number 2 position at quarterback?
The number 2 position is pretty much locked up by Drew Stanton, I think, and they're debating on doing a third quarterback. And the way it looks like that David Blau is going to end up getting the 3rd spot, even though Garrett Gilbert was a guy from the other pro league, what was it called?
The AAF, yeah.
Yeah, the AAF, and was like the consensus MVP of that league. But judging by what's happened the past couple of weeks, I feel like David Blau is going to end up making it just because he's a little bit younger for some reason, or they might try sliding him onto the practice squad. I don't know.
Yeah, with quarterbacks, man, sometimes quarterbacks are at a premium, and you can't hide them too long before somebody figures out who is where,
Yeah, if Baker goes down, our season's done almost, I think, because Drew Stanton, even though he's been around the league, he's not gonna raise the talent level he's not raising the talent level like Baker does.
Yeah, so and I think that's what a lot of teams, where you have your quarterback and then you have a steep drop off to the number 2, and you really gotta hope that your defense is coming to play and your offense doesn't put your defense in a bad situation. So if that, God forbid, that ever happens, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but if it does happen, that's kind of what you're hoping for, is that your number two can manage the game and at least keep your team in the game, and your defense just has to go out and do their job and possibly get turnovers.
Yeah, definitely. That's the one thing that I think will help out if that scenario would ever happen is the fact that we have such a that elite defense that is going to, I really think, cause a lot of havoc. Um, but as far as like offensively too, the other players, I'm really interested in Jalen Strong and what he's going to do. Like if he makes this team as a fifth receiver, I'm think he's going to get a lot of play those first 4 weeks, providing he makes the team. But
Well, who is he in competition with though?
the only other player is there's Derek Willis, and then
Yep, and we saw a lot of him.
yeah, there was they didn't play I can't say his name. Sheehy Giuseppe, I think is his name. Damon Sheehy Giuseppe. They didn't play him a lot this game, and then there was DJ Montgomery, but he didn't play a lot against the Bucks either. So I think they're on the outside looking in.
Yeah. So in your mind, you know, when you're looking at who your head coach put out on the field, are these guys that they're unsure of and they want to give them another look and see if these are the people that you want to go ahead and put on that that final 53 man roster? Is that kind of what you saw when they were putting these guys out there?
Yeah, with the wide receivers definitely, and the tight ends actually as well, because they didn't play David Njoku any. They
Again,
played.
they really don't need to. I mean,
Yeah,
I wouldn't have put him in harm's
I
way.
wouldn't want to risk it either. But I'm just saying, like, with who they have, if they're going to keep three tight ends, you know, trying to figure out who that third one's going to be is what I think what they were trying to do, because they played Pharaoh Brown a fair amount, and it looks like Seth DeValve, who is a fourth-year player, is on his way out. In my mind, just the way that the playing time was divvied up.
Yeah. And, you know, with the new head coach coming in and defensive coordinator, so on and so on, are you seeing players that you would have thought made this team or would have adjusted that aren't coming along as good as they were supposed to? Or is everybody pretty much buying in and getting caught up to speed on the playbook and, you know, pretty much getting adjusted to a new system?
Most of them, I think, are. Along the offensive line, that Austin Corbett, it was pretty much a thought that he was going to take over for Kevin Zeiler, who was traded away to the Giants too, along with Jabril Peppers for Vernon and OBJ.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like he's probably on the outside. Like he just hasn't looked comfortable in any spot. They tried him at right guard, and then Eric Kush took over there. That's one of the main concerns. Like the weak areas this year is going to be right guard for us, I think. And it showed against you guys too. Yeah. Like they got overpowered a lot.
Yeah, and you know, I kind of want to jump into that a little bit. You know, we're talking about, you know, we've talked about the Cleveland Browns. I kind of want to switch gears and talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we'll start on offense, and we'll start with the first team. We'll kind of work our way down, you know, to the, you know, throughout the quarters, but. The first half, you saw a lot of your first team players, and what were your first impressions of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they had the ball and they were driving the field?
Chris Godwin's a beast. I mean, you guys got two really good receivers with him and Evans, and I'm wondering how your who your third is going to be now, because you lost Adam Humphries, and Deshaun Jackson, right?
Yeah, yep, you lost two. And again, you didn't really get to see a whole lot of OJ Howard. You didn't get to see Cameron Brate, but you know, Tanner Hudson is a guy that everybody's talking about him here in the Tampa Bay area. You know what he's been able to do. I mean, this guy he has hands for days. He made that one-handed catch, and you know just was able to extend drives. A lot of weapons on this team, but yeah, Chris Godwin really stuck out to me as well. Playing at that number one receiver, because he's normally, believe it or not, a number two next to, and he was a number three last year, believe it or not, you know, with Deshaun Jackson being in there. So yeah, go ahead and continue. I'll jump in when I can here.
The other was Ronald Jones. I noticed he had a couple good runs. Like he just seemed more comfortable from what I remember seeing in the past of him. So that was with the offense. Defensively, your secondary was, you could tell it's been rebuilt. Like they were all over those receivers, our receivers, all over them.
Yeah, and were you surprised by that when just remembering what you saw from Tampa last year and how that game went and kind of coming into this game, were you thinking you were going to kind of see more of the same from then to now, or what were your thoughts? As far as the Bucs are concerned.
I was surprised about that, with at least with the secondary, but I think it's a good thing for you guys just because it helps take a little bit of pressure off of your offense, knowing that you got players that can make plays like that. Because I mean, I listened to your thing last night, your stream, and like you said, you guys were on the short, like playing on a short field defensively for the whole first half. It seemed like, and the Browns couldn't do anything on it. So that, I think that plays a testament to your defense and how well it's set up. So
Yeah. Oh man, I think we lost him. I'll see if we can get him back. Give me a second here. I will get him back on here. That happens from time to time. That's what happens when you go live. And I'll get him back on here, and we'll continue this here in just a moment. But yeah, that's really good for him to say that. I'm glad that we could kind of get this going here. So let me see if I can get on here, because sometimes these things happen. But yeah, I just shot him another link. We'll get him back on here in just a moment, and we'll continue going. But I don't know. I want to kind of get your thoughts, and you don't have to right now, but when you get a chance to shoot it into Messenger, and let me know what you think about having other people on from other podcasts. I think it's a great concept, and I enjoy doing it. Okay, Anthony, we got you back, bro. Sorry about that. It's that's what happens when you're live. These things happen. So yeah, go ahead and continue with what you were talking about as far as the defense is concerned.
Oh, that was pretty much all I was saying. Like the fact that you guys were on the short field a lot, and then that our offense couldn't do anything. I think it speaks volumes to how your defense is set up and helping to alleviate some of the pressure off of Jameis Winston and the offense this year.
Yeah. Now, the big thing in Tampa has been that basically the offensive line is horrible, and that's going to be the handicap for this team, so to speak, is because of the issues on offensive line. Now, how you've been watching the games, how do you feel your defense has done throughout the preseason? And you haven't really gotten to see a lot of your first teamers because you're still using a lot of the games for talent evaluation. That's the one thing I've noticed going back and watching some of the Cleveland Browns game film or watching some of the games live. You see a lot of players that it looks like your coaches are evaluating as to whether or not they're going to keep them or not. So how do you feel your team, as far as defense goes, how do you feel they've done throughout the preseason?
I feel like they've done pretty well. They brought in Mac Wilson and Taki from in the draft, and I think that they've been shining pretty well and giving a lot of depth to our linebacking core. And then Greedy Williams, as long as he stays healthy with Denzel Ward, I think they're going to be a good 1-2 combo. I think this year Greedy's probably going to play more as a third cornerback, though, because Terrence Mitchell has really stepped up once the games actually started.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's pretty much cemented the fact that he's going to be the number 2 corner across from Denzel. The only question mark that I'm going to have is probably the safety spot where Jabril Peppers was last year, just because he was really coming along during the second half of the season. And then we have Morgan Burnett, who's kind of lost a step, I think, personally. Mm-hmm. And then Eric Murray is more of another slot kind of corner.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I like Jabril Peppers. That was somebody that I had on my draft board for the Bucs to potentially look at. When you're talking draft picks, I really like his game. I feel like he is an actual football player. Or I think he can do a lot. I think you could put him on special teams in the defense. I mean, you could use him as a hybrid I felt like he was coming into the NFL. I felt like his game would really translate. And has he met up to that billing since he's been a Cleveland Brown?
He I think he was, like I said, he was coming along there at the end, but then we ended up moving him for OBJ. So
yeah. So how comfortable were you with that move to get an Odell Beckham Jr. and
I was perfectly okay with it. It saddened me to see him go because Peppers was a jersey I bought, but I was perfectly fine with it.
What about the move bringing Olivier Vernon over? I mean, here's a guy who I don't know. I don't know. I've always liked him. I thought that when he was in Miami, he kind of, I don't know. I don't know if they just didn't use him right, but I feel like he's kind of revitalized from what I've seen from him in games. I feel like he's a little bit more revitalized and he's playing like he was before.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think he's going to be great because he's going to have, like, he's not the premier rusher because that was a lot of the big pressure I think from Miami and in New York is like he was one of the only guys. So
yeah, so you could double him up.
Yeah. Now you got Miles on the other side, and then you got Sheldon Richardson, who's pretty much playing right beside him. So
yeah,
I mean, it's a pick your poison type situation for him.
Yeah,
and I think he'll be able to feast a lot as long as he stays healthy because he has not played a full season in like 4 years.
And that's something to consider as well. Wow, I didn't even think about that. So let's talk about Sheldon Richardson. How happy are you to have somebody like that there? I mean, I'm sure that he's dropping that knowledge to Myles Garrett. And hold on one second, we don't have any sound. Hold on one second. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear us now? Is the sound better? Sorry about that. Let me see if we got sound. Hopefully it's working now. We'll see. Let's see if they can hear us now. Can you guys hear us? I haven't seen anything in the chat. But anyway, just kind of going back to what we were talking about. No, okay, no sound. Let me see. And how about now? Can you still no sound? All right. Give me a second here. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so I've got that sound.
Someone says.
Huh? Oh, okay, sounds fine. I never dropped out. Oh, okay. All right. All right, we got it. We got my man Andy Finley from Scotland on here. Bucks fan from Scotland. What's going on, man?
Another world's team guy, huh?
Yeah, definitely. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's one of the things from like the Cleveland Browns Daily. They always say that the Cleveland Browns are the world's team. But with the Bucks having one from Scotland, that means you guys are part of the world's team too. So got two world's teams.
Yeah, from all over. We got them from France. There's a guy that listens sometimes from France, and you've got some from all over. So it's kind of cool that way. But just again, kind of getting back to the Bucks a little bit. Overall, what were your thoughts on the team? After you can kind of sit back and look at the game. I know one of the big problems we had was the kicking game last year, and to have the rookie kicker come in, Matt Gay, in the last seconds and kick get that winning kick. That's big for the Bucks and Bucks fans because it's been a nightmare with kickers around here for years.
Yeah, I think that would give him a lot of confidence because isn't he a rookie?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
So, yeah. So I think being able to do something like that, I think that gives a little confidence as long as he makes the team. Because don't you guys have another veteran?
Yeah, Carlos Santos. Yeah,
yeah. He played because he kicked the game winner against us last year.
Yeah. So
twice.
So you remember?
Yeah, twice. Then in Kansas City, then against you. Yeah.
So it's really good to have that kind of competition here. You guys have a great kicker too, by the way. I mean, he's been very consistent, and that's something that you may overlook it, but that's something that you really need, especially in the middle of the season when you got those close games and you're worried about field position, because the score of a game can definitely change how a coach schemes the rest of the game. And it's just a big difference maker.
Yeah, exactly. If you're like, down three with 5 minutes left, are you just going to send the kicker out, or are you going to try to go for the win,
Yeah,
or like depending on how far you got to go. So yeah, I
yeah.
agree with that. I think it's gonna make a big difference. The other thing that I noticed with you guys is you guys seem to hit a lot more of like going with your tight ends in the red zone,
Yes.
like just in general.
Yeah, and that's something I'm really happy about. With Bruce Arians, our the new head coach, I'm happy that they're doing what they are doing. I mean, Dirk Cutter did a lot last year with the tight ends, but again, I just felt like they could have done more than what they did. So again, this is going to be really interesting. New scheme for us, just like you guys. New scheme for us, offense and defense. So it's going to be really interesting game one to see what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roll out with.
Yeah, I'll definitely I'm going to tune in and end up watching it because I have Game Pass, so I'll watch it after I watch the Browns. But like I'm interested to see like are they going to try to split Howard or Bray out wide more? Are they versatile enough to do that kind of stuff? Because I feel like Arians has that kind of offense where he likes to do that a little bit more than what you said, Dirk Cutter. He liked it more inline tight ends, I think.
And it's interesting you say that. And Bruce Arians has said this himself. He hasn't had this much talent to work with. And it's interesting, and you've got all these different pieces, and you've got so much versatility. Again, I don't know what this offense is going to look like. We just been seeing vanilla plays just like you guys have. So I'm excited to see what they roll out with game one. So who do you guys face on the first? Who's your first team you guys are going to face?
Our first team is Tennessee. So the
Okay.
Titans, and then we go play the Jets.
So have you been? Are you one of those guys you kind of watch the teams that you're going to face during the season just to see what they're doing or see who their personnel is?
I try to when I have time, but life gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah, there you go, man. I know exactly how you feel. So and who are you guys facing this week in the last preseason game? Who are you facing?
We played Detroit this week.
Oh, okay. So that'll be a nice little and you guys, all your first teamers will be sitting down, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that you're going to have all your guys that you're trying to see who's going to make the team. Anybody special that you're going to be looking for this week when you're watching these games?
I'll probably look at like for the Browns, Dearness Johnson, just
Okay.
because like I said, he's really like the Colts game. I noticed it a lot, and then with the Bucks, I noticed he had a couple good like punt returns and stuff. So I want to see if he continues that and actually makes the roster because I just like the fact that he's really tried to carve a spot out for himself.
You know what? That's what's important, and I preach that a lot. I love the players that make the most of the opportunities that they get. Like our Peyton Barber is our number one running back, and
Yeah,
he was undrafted. And here's a guy that's worked very hard to get where he's at. Tanner Hudson is another guy. I would have never thought we would be mentioning him the way we have been, but he's done so much to put his name out there that you can't help but notice him.
yeah,
And just
exactly.
and just
And I
players
remember
like go ahead.
I was just gonna say I remember Peyton Barber. Wasn't he behind what Doug Martin and Charles Sims?
Yep, he sure
At the
was.
start when he first came in, yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, the fact that he was able to just grind out, like it's those kind of players that you want on your team, anyways. Because once they get to that spot, they're still going to work at it.
Yeah, because they're always going to be hungry, and
Yeah,
that's what you need. You don't want a guy that gets where he's going and he's like, oh, I've arrived. I'm here now. You want those guys that are always going to be hungry, and and there's another guy, and I don't know if you really paid attention to him, number 44, Dare Agumbawale, the running back for the Bucks, and just watching him and watching what he's been able to do, it's been really exciting as well. Just because where he started at, you really didn't expect to hear from him, but he's really stepped his game up as well. So I love players like that from any team because that's what football is about. Going out there and just putting yourself in a position to where you can succeed and making the most of your time. And
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting too because like you got to look out for number one, but it's an ultimate team game, so you got to do it within the confines of a team structure. So it's always hard when you're in those situations because you got to make sure that you can put food on your plate.
Yeah, there you are on the table. Yeah, there you go. So we've been on for about 30 minutes, and again, I told you I wasn't going to keep you on too long here. I wanted to get your final thoughts, and then we'll roll out of here. And I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your take on the Bucs. I know a lot of fans get out there. They like to trash talk and stuff like that. But at the same time, you got fans that like to talk football, regardless of whose jersey it is. You just like talking football, and you've brought up some very astute observations, and I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you having me on. It's always fun. I love talking football. Like, I've done it since I was like 8, and I absolutely love it. So I like mixing in the trash talk a little bit too, to the right people, but it's kind of steady and you can't really do that,
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, no worries. So tell everybody how they can get a hold of you again, and where's your podcast at? And we got to get your guys fired up. You guys do a great job. I really like the concept that you guys were using, and I really hope that you can get my man fired up and come on and bring that podcast back, because when I think about what they're showing on ESPN or NFL.com and NFL Network, I like podcasts better. Because your viewpoint on what you're seeing from a team is something I'd rather listen to than some guy who really doesn't really care about your team giving me what to think about your team.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the podcast is stuff. It's Browns in Our Blood. You can find it on YouTube. It's Mustalung Sound Vision. That's Eric's YouTube page, and that's my co-host on it, Eric Jordan. And you can get a hold of me on Twitter at WVSTray3. But like I said, the rest of them, when audio gets ripped, is just pretty much anywhere that podcasts are downloadable. So
that's what's up, man. You guys have great content. I like how you guys work together really good, and I think you guys make a great team. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
Appreciate that, man. I'll light a fire on them.
Just let him know. Let him know this could have been, you could have been on here with us.
Yeah. I'll definitely let him know. Once he sees us, he'll start getting ready, I think. So
all right,
we'll definitely get it ready for the regular season. Both of us had a lot going on throughout the past few weeks and stuff. So
yeah. Like you said, life happens, man. Just getting ready for the regular season. Well, that's pretty much it for us. I did want to give one parting comment about Andrew Luck. Football players are human beings, regardless of what you think as a fan. Football players are human beings. Their life, their livelihood, their health. These are things that are very important to me. Regardless of what team it is or what jersey they're wearing. I really would hope that more people would support a decision where somebody has decided his heart's not in football anymore, and instead of fleecing, as Brenston Buckner said, instead of fleecing a team and hanging around when you're not giving your 100% effort into it, it's best to walk away. It's best to walk away with your health. I look at Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders walked away with his health. There's so many other examples out there of players that walked away. They had their health. Myron Rolle, I think he's a neurosurgeon at Harvard now, where he walked away from football and, he's able to do other things and enjoy his life, the later years of his life. So you just keep that in mind. Football players are human beings, regardless of what you think. And, at the time that, Andrew Luck decided to do what he did, I'm good with that. I look at all the injuries he's had, and the guy, he did what was best for him and his family. So my thoughts and respect for him, and that's pretty much all I wanted to say. But anyway, that's pretty much it for us. This is Gene from Buck What You Heard, and Anthony Sellers. We are out of here. I'm gonna get him on again, just to talk football here during the season. Maybe we can drag his partner on here as well. So keep an eye out for that. And I will be on regular time on Wednesday with my co-host Michael Pless, and we will be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and what's going to happen with the 53-man roster on Saturday. So be sure to check us out, and we are out.